I get the link to this.
Yep, I linked it. I'm linking it now.
All right, this is Transparency and Merit. You are back for another live broadcast. I'm Joe. I'm here with Brian, and
that's right, Joe.
Come up with this stuff.
Yes, and I wanted to mention, by the way, that my last show that it was it, I don't know if it was white privilege was trending on Twitter, but I'll go back to adding that. But yeah, was rejected by Facebook. Our last show, and it's kind of a disappointment. I got into an argument with a guy on Twitter, and I have the video. I wanted to play the video of Sarah Zhang. It was kind of when Roseanne got canned for her tweet, and Sarah Zhang really put out some really nasty tweets about white people, and I mean, I'm talking like very nasty. I'll get into that later. If you want to play the clip, because I want to talk about the double standards and double, they want basically people to act as, like whites in particular, to act a certain way, and we're held up to certain standards, and we're absolved of moral responsibility. Well, all other groups are not absolved of moral responsibility, and they can behave the way they want. This illustrates my point. Joe, can you play the video?
Created with the hiring of their new writer, Sarah Zhang. Critics are outraged by her history of controversial anti-white tweets. She calls it counter-trolling. They call it racism. So what is it? Let's talk about it. I want to bring in Nelson political commentators Matt Lewis and Simone Sanders. Also with us is Ying Ma, a former deputy director of communications for a pro-Trump super PAC. I'm so glad to have all of you on this evening. So Simone, I just want to read, this is some of Sarah Zhang's tweets that her critics say are offensive, many of them dating back 5 years. In one tweet, she wrote that that couldn't enjoy the show. She couldn't enjoy the show Breaking Bad because the premise is just, and here's what she says, the premise is just white people being miserable, and that it must be so boring to be white. She also tweeted, hashtag cancel white people, and oh man, it's kind of sick how much joy I get out of being cruel to old white men, and white people have stopped breeding. You'll all go extinct soon. That was my plan all along. Dumb effing white people marking up the internet with their opinions like dogs. I hate saying that word. I'll just say peeing on fire hydrants. I don't know why I hate that word. You say these tweets are not racist.
No, I don't think Sarah's tweets are racist. Look,
let's stop there right there. Simone Sanders, by the way,
a right wing.
Hold on.
It's not even conservative. It was a right.
Simone Sanders is running Biden's campaign right now. I think she's like his top campaign advisor. This person, listen to what she says. She holds true to double standards. She's a hypocrite, not a very noble person. So continue to play.
All right.
right wingers, people that identify with the white supremacist ideology, and they were taken out of context. Now, that being said, I subscribe to the notion that I don't tweet, write, or email anything that I don't want splashed across the pages of the New York
Does it
Times.
matter who dug them up?
I know, but I think it matters that it's selective. That's what I'm saying. And so some of the tweets are taken out of context. I think in Sarah's explanation, she noted that some of it was counter trolling. Would I have written anything like that? Absolutely not. But it's not racist for this reason. One, Don, racism, being racist is not just prejudice, it's prejudice plus power. So one could argue that some of her tweets
Stop right there.
in context.
This prevailing thought, you can't even really have a discussion on that. They won't, like, if you try to challenge that, they will not, they will shut you down. Also, one of the tweets that Sarah Jeong said was, when she sees a bald white man, she's hoping that he has, I think she said, some form of sickle cell, not sickle cell, but anemia, or some form of cancer is what she said. Very cruel. And just, you know, almost, you know, I mean, like, it was, if you want to play the genocide card, that was it. And she still has a blue check mark. And I forget, Candace Owens did the same tweets in reverse. She's a black person, but she was saying it about black people, and she got canceled right away. So, showing double standards. All right, continue to play.
Note that she has a prejudice, perhaps, against white men. But that, in fact, does not make her racist. I don't think she's a racist. I absolutely think we're conflating two conversations.
Does it make her a bigot? Does it make her?
No, I don't think it makes her a bigot either. I think you have to look at the tweets within the context. Could she be prejudiced? Could she have some, not just implicit, but, you know, negative bias towards white men in America due to perhaps what she's experienced throughout her life? Probably, absolutely. Does that mean, though, that she is in fact racist? No, because race is prejudice plus power. Could she be prejudiced? Absolutely. But I think we're conflating many different conversations, and we have to be clear about what we're talking about.
Ying, what do you think? Are these tweets racist?
I think the tweets certainly are racist. Whether Sarah herself is a racist, I think that's a different question. Because if you look at her tweets, and in fact, I actually spent quite a bit of time.
Can you separate those two for me? How can?
Well, if I could continue, I actually looked at a whole bunch of her tweets, a lot more than what you just read out loud, and that's quite a bit of time I can't get back. But it's clear that she's a young lady who's very confused, very indiscreet, who is trying to be very funny, but who is failing spectacularly. And we sort of have to feel sorry for her that she somehow went through one of the best universities in the country, Harvard Law, and what she does is she spends her entire time obsessing about white people and saying nasty things about white men and white women. But it's so also clear from her remarks that she doesn't think all white people are what she describes, and so there is a certain element of attempting to be humorous, but not actually succeeding. However, if you look at her tweets, and if you actually do look at the context is that she is purposely saying racist things against white people for what she believes is great effect.
Okay, I'm not sure. So how do you separate?
I mean, what I would say about what Simone just said is that I think there is a great deal that is sad here, and what it reflects is what is really sad about identity politics in America in general. That race is your defining characteristic, and if you are somebody who is not white, you get to say all kinds of vile things about white people, and there's no consequence. And I think what is sad here is that here is a young woman who is obviously very smart enough to get into Harvard, and yet she spends all her time saying all these nasty things about white people, as she knows they're sort of.
All right, let's go, Brian. What do you got?
Tinged, if not.
Well, let's okay. If we could just, I want to just play to win. I don't know what the white gentleman is, but he makes a point, and then Don Lemon. So if we can.
But she goes on doing that.
He's the one I would want to skip over, by the way.
I'll get Matt in. So Matt,
well, we're almost there anyway.
When Matt starts.
her own apology about her old tweets alongside a screenshot of just 2 examples of the types of vitriolic messages she receives. One reads, if I saw you, I would sock you in your lesbian face and shut the F up, you dog-eating bleep. She says she was counter-trolling. So what's wrong with punching back?
Well, I guess we all get a get out of jail card now, because anything anybody has ever been fired for saying or tweeting could be counter trolling, if that's an acceptable excuse. Look, I'm not a big fan of this mob mentality where we go after things people tweeted 5 years ago and take them down. Having said that, you and I both know that if Matt Lewis had written or said anything remotely like this about another race or sexual orientation, I certainly wouldn't have a job on Monday. I actually think this is a political story as well as a media story. You know, look, I think white people have historically been privileged, but there are a lot
Ryan,
of
do you want to take any calls? We're getting
who is it?
It's Jew.
Let's
I'm not because he's calling and hanging up. I'm signing out.
Oh, then yeah, just why don't you just discontinue the thing, and we won't take any calls. Just get rid of just get rid of your Twitter, not your Twitter and your whatchamacallit, because if you're just calling and hanging up, that's not a good thing.
Maybe you're a Vietnam vet, maybe you're struggling with cancer, maybe you're unemployed, your factory went bankrupt, and you are in Ohio and you're watching somebody working at the New York Times who went to a great college shame you for being white. We wonder why Donald Trump is able to turn all of these folks against us in the media. Well, guess what? If you're a white Republican living in Ohio or Michigan, and you have the idea that the media doesn't like you, isn't this proof that, in fact, that is the case? That the New York Times is hiring somebody who has tweeted hundreds of tweets, like not just a handful like this, would get hired at the New York Times of all places. I think it kind of reinforces, sadly, Donald Trump's message.
I've got to take a break, but I want to continue this, so we're going to go on. But this is the thing. You don't have to respond by Twitter. It always gets you in trouble because there's no context. If you're going to do something like that, then you write an article where there's context, where you can respond to people, and it's just not sitting out there like that. And I do have to say, Matt, I think it's a very good point. If I saw something like that from you, I would say, you know what? I'm not sure Matt should be working here anymore, and you probably would not be working here anymore. Who gets to decide what's racist or not? We'll talk. This is a New York Times, not her statement.
All right, stop. We can stop now. We can stop. That's the only thing I wanted to point out. He said, if Matt did the same thing that Sarah did, Matt would not be probably wouldn't be working here, and the probably would be out of it. He would not be working in CNN or any other organization for that matter. And Simone Sanders just said prejudice plus power. Well, if you can say something about me and my ethnicity or my race and not be fired, but if I did the same thing, I would be fired. How much power do you have? Anyway, I got into this argument with this gentleman on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
Let's at
your Twitter here.
Yes.
And, so the comment was based on the Huntington Beach protests that were going on.
Yes.
God bless the Huntington Beach protesters standing up for freedom was this tweet. There are a lot of people out there. So what happened?
Well, yeah, freedom. Okay, and let's see. It says, freedom for white people to go to a park, a state park, not their land. And I said, I wonder if this white dude would have the nerve to criticize a black group the same way. And he says, no, because that's not my place to criticize people with less privilege. Now, I also want to say that people were saying that and they were showing clips of a of a white person shouting at a black police officer. I mean, of a police officer, and then a black woman in like a dress being arrested with it might have been even guns drawn. And the thing of it is, all these things are basically. I mean, you can look up videos of black protesters screaming at police officers. There's plenty of video of them doing that. When you're blocking traffic, they're going to remove you. And some of these things are taken out of context. But yeah, this gentleman goes, no, because, and I don't know if I've said it before, but no, because that's not my place to criticize people with less privilege.
So is that how it ended?
No. I mean, if you look, there's 7 more responses to that.
Well, go on with it. So what happened then?
Well, if you click on the side thing, you'll see all the response. I think
I see them all right here.
where it's okay. So, and then Rosa says, so hypothetically, let's say all the protesters were from historical marginalized groups performing the risky behavior. Now, let's say it's 10 times bigger, more jam-packed, crowded, and belligerent. Can you criticize that?
So then Matt says, no, your hypothetical scenario isn't a realistic scenario. Those marginalized groups tend to not have the individualist mindset that most privileged people do. So I wouldn't
Nonsense.
to even behave such a way.
Nonsense.
Wow.
And I mean, and what he was saying, I for one cannot believe that this person, like, I don't know where he comes up with this stuff. That's what the show title is. Like, that they don't. What do you mean they don't behave that way, individualistic way?
The LGBTQ don't have an individualist mindset. Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, wow. All right. And so, okay, so he's just saying stuff to fire people. Yeah, I knew.
I think he might be brainwashed. You know, he might be one of those brainwashed, anti-racist leftists who, you know, and
so you said your assumptions show your narrow-mindedness, and he said assumptions about what? And he said, and you said when you posted, when you don't surround myself with only white people, it helps you see multiple perspective. Now, I've been around woke leftists like you most of my life. They have been all the colors of the rainbow, and they have become more authoritarian and vindictive over the years.
yeah, and they have. I mean, online, they're the ones who cancel Twitter accounts, who cancel YouTube accounts. The left is the most authoritarian group out there, and they are vicious.
Mm-hmm.
The right, I mean, the right can be vicious too, but it's the left who, and basically, these social media companies, they basically bend the knee to them, and they've made dialogue worse, and they've made people fracture off to the left and the right even worse. And it's one of the reasons why we don't have moderates, or it seems like we don't have moderates. And it's kind of a sad thing. You know, we're going through a serious time right now, and we need to know what the truth is, or it's a good idea if we had some options on what the truth is, because we all know the government has lied in the past and the media has lied in the past. So we want to hear all sides. And for this kind of stuff to be bantied about, it's just, it's just so ridiculous. It kind of boggles my mind that people in this day and age can think like this. And Debbie says, you're talking about people who were lynched for no reason 60 years ago, Brian. People couldn't drink at the same water fountain. Yeah, I understand that. Well, yeah, that's 60 years ago. This is not your or my father's America. This is not your grandfather's America. This is an America of the 1960s, the 1950s, the 1960s, 70s, 80s. This is America in the 2000s. And there's not, what they're talking about, the America that they perceive, in my opinion, does not exist. It just doesn't. Their perceptions are completely wrong at what they think. And, this whole pandemic couldn't have happened at the worst possible time, because it is during a political year, and this is being politicized. And what can we do? I mean, like, and to me, it's, I don't have much more to add on to that, Joe, except that, I don't know what the alternative is going to be. But I don't see moderation when, people like this Matt Healy guy has these kind of warped opinions. This is, and I don't know how mainstream Matt's opinion is on the left or on the liberal side, but to me it's like so far off. It's so his views on life are so far off of reality. They're unbelievable.
15,000 tweets and 267 followers. There you go.
He's not that big, but he's but there are leftists that have, and like I said, the left is protected. YouTube, I think, might even be worse than Twitter as far as censoring today. I would go into how this came about, or because people like Simone Sanders, they are in every corporation, and every large corporation and every large governmental office. There is a Simone Sanders type of person. And rather than fight them, they just kind of bend the knee. But they really don't offer anything, and they're not about justice. They're not about nobility. And this is who runs the Democratic Party. And this is the type of person that big business and big government bend the knee to. And basically, she's as close, it's just egocentric, narcissistic garbage. And this is the kind of, and they want to fool with your perceptions. And they don't want any other voices out there except for people who bend the knee to her. You bend the knee or shut up, basically. Anyway, Joe, do you have anything else to add before we call this show a day or a night?
Nope. Let's end this puppy.
All right. You folks, I apologize for repeating myself. A little bit tired lately, but yeah, let's end this puppy. Like and subscribe. And remember, folks, we need a free internet. We need open and honest dialogue if we're going to get anywhere in this world. And you know what? We need brutal honesty. That's just the truth. I was going to go over a little bit. I got into a little bit of a debate with the one person, and I probably said something that maybe she might think I'm coming off a little bit. Yeah. Anyway, you know what? I'll save that for later. But yeah, so like and subscribe, and also, share the show. What's that?
I said, are you sure you don't want to talk about it? Let's do it. You're doing a show. What
All
are you
right,
doing it for?
All right. Well, I mean, the thing of it is, Joe, she says a lot, and it's a lot to digest. She said, oh my God, it's so much, she said. And I don't want to get into, she said, I see. Yeah, you know what? It's a lot. You know what, Joe? It's a lot to digest.
About what? What's the topic?
Well, it was a topic. It was a topic I did on Jubilee. I said the name of the show was titled Jubilee and Leftist Perniciousness. And basically saying,
well, we'll do it next. We'll cover it next show.
Let's do it next week. Yeah, let's do it next week.
So you all have something to look forward to. We're going to start. I think we're just going to have to do a scheduled show. Like,
yeah,
we need the same time, same days each week.
Yeah, you're right.
People are telling me this. They want to know when we're on, and I can never tell them. So we got to come up with a time. So expect us to have a time. And yeah, I'm horrible with Brian. You know what? If he's not listening to me, I got to repeat myself. Debbie. Who likes to repeat themselves? Nobody.
Debbie, you owe us a steak dinner. We're going down. We're going to go down to Dallas, and we're going to, when Dallas opens up, because it's going to open up before any other place.
You ever see Debbie type to people? She's calling other people horrible. Wah, wah, wah. Debbie, wah, wah, wah. I tell you, JP, you're not going to get my steak. No. Only Brian's going to get my steak. Brian earned a steak. You are just a Jew. You're not going to get a steak.
Well,
you're going to ignore him.
I think when Dallas is going to. I mean, Texas is going to open up before California does.
Listen, Debbie's saying I'm ignoring you. Okay. Now I want you, Debbie, to look at your computer screen for a moment, and I want you to look at this face of the person Brian's been talking about for 20. I don't give a shit. Okay. I don't care. Brian knows it. And you know it. I don't care about this guy. I'm not going to waste my time thinking about this guy. I'm just not. So there, Debbie. Brian,
all right, let's.
Brian, I do plenty of shows where we talk and bloviate your ears off. Don't you lure your little blonde hair off. All right. Anyways, Brian, anything else?
You know what? That'll do it, Joe. I kind of enjoy it. And the last part was golden, Joe. It was golden.
Golden sunsets.
Golden sunsets. Folks, if we're going to get through anything, we need honest talk and debate. The internet is great. Don't censor it.
Don't censor it.
Don't sit. Yes. This should be the information age. Yeah. Sometimes information is going to piss you off.
Debbie's telling us she's doing a show now. That's because she probably wants you to call her. So that could happen. I think that should happen. All right. Good night, everybody. Thank you for listening. Except Political Woodstock. Please don't listen anymore.
All right.